Hello, Cosmic Superstars. Welcome to Honest Flow, a channel where we have honest conversations that aren't always sunshine and rainbows. And what I mean by that is sometimes it can be difficult and a little bit triggering. So don't say I didn't warn you. Yeah. So today's video is actually about self-awareness and also finding your own identity. And the reason I wanted to do this video is because I was actually inspired by the energy of this year, the energy of 2023 being a universal year seven. And seven is all about introspection, going inward, seeking the deeper truths of your reality. And I was inspired by that. So, let's talk about self awareness, okay? Self awareness, self awareness. First and foremost, being someone who's constantly meeting all kinds of people, crossing paths with all kinds of people, I have noticed that there is a larger portion of people who lack self awareness than there is the portion that has a good level of self awareness, sadly. And I really feel that it's time for all of you to really do the work and do it properly. And what I mean by that is don't just skim the surface of things, go deep and acknowledge and accept and look at all areas. Now, there are so many different spiritual tools out there to help one understand themselves, from astrology, tropical astrology, which is Western astrology that is based around the sun. And there's also the Hindu system, the Vedic astrology system, which is based around the moon. And just a side note, I sort of learned and kind of feel I resonate with this idea that the Western astrology system or tropical astrology system, which is based around the sun, is sort of like an outer layer of us. And then Vedic astrology, which is based around the moon, is an deeper inner layer. So, and I know that some astrologers prefer one over the other, but I actually prefer, like, I have no problem with either. Like, I think both have value. And so I would never diss one and say one is better than the other. All is good, because it's all about helping ourselves. And I pay my respects to those who channeled and brought these systems into the earth plane for us humans to use and sort of navigate through life. And we also have different numerology system. Soon you can get numerology charts done, and the ones that I normally talk to when I meet people is the Pythagorean, which is the Western system. And that's one numerology system, but there's so many others. And by the way, I actually do a um soul blueprint or soul contract reading, and it's a system that leverages off a Hebrew alphanumeric system, Gematria. And that is a paid thing that I do. But for anyone who ever wants to go deeper, really deep, then come find me for that one. Anyway, and there's all other kinds of things out there. Like there's human design, which is really interesting. I'm a manifesting generator. Also, and there's gene keys as well, which sort of is a, I would say, like an add-on to the human design system. But there's so many things out there to help you understand yourself better. And even with like the Myers-Briggs personality type test, that can help you know yourself as well. So I feel like there's so many different tools out there to help one really understand their makeup and the way they think and the way they operate and how they approach things in life. And I know so many people are going to be like, oh, but it's woo woo. It's like, is it really? Have you actually taken the time to read and investigate these things? Because if you did, hands down, I know most of you would come back. Those of you who actually take the time to investigate and research and read on all these things and go deep, 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 you will come back to me and say, Teo, you were right. And I'll be like, I know. I effing know, because these tools have been around since ancient times, guys. And they're still around. If something was fake, eventually it will disappear off the face of the earth. But things that are valid, that are true, always remain, always stand the test of time. So, Anyway, so there are a whole bunch of tools out there that you can use to really understand yourself better. And what I find is, even within, let's use spiritual communities. Like, I've met people within the spiritual communities, and I've come to learn through my own experiences that not everyone is on the same wavelength in these spiritual communities. There's a lot of people who enter who are still quite heavily wounded and still working on those wounds. And then there's people a little bit higher, and people a little bit higher, and people a little bit higher. Like, and I don't mean a hierarchical way, it's just consciousness, level of consciousness and awareness of others and things like that. So not everyone that you meet in the spiritual circles, if you go out to any sort of group healing things or workshops, is on the same level. And it's important that people understand that, right? Because just because what might happen is, if you don't understand that, you think that everyone thinks the same, and then you might what's that word, group think. You might get influenced by someone who actually you might think, because they're in this spiritual circle, must mean they are conscious, but then maybe they're quite heavily wounded and still need stuff to work on. But yeah, and then this person might influence everyone in the group, and it becomes groupthink. And yeah, I just want people to sort of understand that this is an unscripted video, so I just go where my mind goes. Okay. So yeah, self-awareness. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people out there sort of avoid getting to know themselves on a deep level. And I can give you this one example of this one person a few years back. She messaged me, and she was sort of going through a lot of stuff, and then she was saying, and she had been saying to me for a long time, that she really wants her life to change, and she really needs help. And yeah, and being the generous person that I am with my time and my energy, I, helped her. I was like, hey, I'll do a numerology chart for you. Like, yeah, I'll send you some links. And then I remember sending her this link about her life path number, hoping that she would read it. And I know that this article probably takes about 15 minutes to read. And it's funny because I sent her the link, and then within 1 minute, she SMS or texted me back and said, "Good read." I was sort of just highly, highly, highly disappointed. And I was like, you know what? This is why you're never going to change. Like, this is why you're always going to be stuck, because you're not doing the work. You're one of those people who keep going, blah, 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 blah. I want to help myself. I want to do this. I want to do that, but doesn't really do the work. And I feel that anyone out there who really wants to do the work will do the work and will do it properly. And I also want people to know that knowing is not enough. You have to put things into practice. I mean, you could read 100 books, 100 self-help books, right? And fill your brain with all this knowledge. However, it is experience, it is putting things into practice that will actually show if you have learned what you have studied. And yeah, and this is why, sliding this in, trigger alert, by the way, the best teachers of any special field, of any field, are actually the teachers who have lived experience, not the ones who read books or have learnt in a course or something. Just saying. Sorry to say, it's just the truth. The best teachers, not saying, and I'm not saying that people who read books and study courses and stuff can't be teachers. They can definitely be teachers. However, they probably won't be as good as the ones who have lived experience, who have been in those shoes. And actually, I'll give you an example. I'm going to bring this back to self-awareness now. There was this one person who said to me once, he's like, "Oh, Tara, I think that, my role is to help people like you. People who like you, who, went through all these things. I feel like I'm meant to be there for people like you." And and just to give you some context and background information, this person and I don't mean any disrespect to this person, and I don't mean to be making this person feel bad, but I need to speak the truth and give a real life example so people understand. Because, like I said, best teachers have lived experience. So, this person in the past is what I would call a bit of a bully, bit of a narcissist, but like sort of like the really subtle kind, the one that sort of just, yeah, just wasn't a nice person to me growing up. And for this person to say to me, I feel like I'm meant to be teaching people like you, me, the person on the receiving end of the mistreatment. I just remember thinking in my head, like, oh my God, are you for real? I was like, I was like biting my tongue. I was like, are you sure? Like, and then this made me realize how, again, this person lacks self awareness. Because the thing is, you can only teach from your own experience, and like if you're in that position, right? So for a bully to say, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but just to explain, for someone who played the role of the bully to say, I'm meant to teach the victims, it's like, no, you're actually better off teaching those who were operated like you as the bully. Like, you will be better at teaching those people as long as you can get through your stuff and, transform that and overcome that and become like that healed person and no longer the bully. You will be great at teaching those who operated like you, but you could not teach those of us who were on the receiving end of your toxic behavior. You cannot, because you do not understand our position. And yeah, and that is just another example of someone who lacks self-awareness. And yeah, there's just so many people out there who lack self-awareness. And even, yeah, sort of like when I hear people say things like, oh, I would never do that to anyone, I don't know why I'm being treated this way. And as someone who observes a lot of people and sees how people treat others, it's always coming from the people who lack self-awareness. Because I've seen people be really mean to others, and then when they're on the receiving end of the exact same behavior, they're like, oh my God, it's not fair, why are people being mean to me, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, oh, like, guys, how can you not know, how can you not see what's going on here? This is called karma. Yeah, has my video triggered some of you yet? Who knows? But yeah, I just feel like there's just, yeah, just more work to be done around this whole self-awareness thing. And it's really important that people really look into the shadow or challenge areas. Like when you're taking the time to understand yourself through one of the spiritual tools out there, astrology, numerology, chart, I really hope that many of you are looking at the darker aspects, the shadow aspects, the low vibing sort of behaviors, because that's what you need to sort of hone in on. That's where you need to do the work. And the truth is that area, if you can like overcome and master those areas, they become your greatest gifts on top of your current gifts, your current, skill sets. So yeah, I just wish more people would do the work properly. And now, moving on from self awareness, I want to sort of link or connect to finding your own identity. Now, until you take the time to know yourself and go back in time and reflect on your own childhoods and things that you actually like to do, you're not going to be able to create or build your own identity, right? You have to do that work. And what I find is there are people out there who are so lost and who aren't doing the work to become more self aware, and then they're unhappy, and then they keep, what's the word? How do I say this? They keep chasing another person's dream. Yeah, basically, they're sort of trying to emulate another person's life or dream, but it's not their own dream. And until they do the work, they won't realize what their own dream is. And yeah, I'll give you some examples, right? Like I've had people who sort of look up to me, and I am flattered for those who sort of look up to me, but to be honest, my life has not been easy, and I wish people would just stop assuming that it's easy and stuff. But anyway, that's another sort of topic to talk about. But people would just look at my life and think it's so amazing, she's got all these things, she has this, has that, she's got the perfect partner, blah 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 blah, all these things. And then, I've had people sort of look at my job and in the past and be like, oh, okay, that role that she does, it seems to pay well. And, it seems like it's a lot of fun and easy, blah, blah, blah. And then these people think, okay, I'm going to do that role too. And then not, what's the word? Not too far down the track, or not too far. I'm just trying to see if I'm wording things right. Sorry. I'm not neurotypical, so sometimes I get words out of order and things, and yeah. Anyway, so and later down the track, so they'll try to do a role similar to mine, and then not too long after trying, they get very stressed out and they realize how hard the role is, because I make it look easy, but I make it look, I don't, it's not like I'm trying to make it easy, it's just because it's aligned to me and my skill sets. And so I'm able to do it, and it looks easy and looks like, fun. It's fun for me, but for another person who tries to jump into the role because they saw me do it and thought, hey, I can probably do that too. And then, yeah, not too far down the track, they realize it's not, and then they quit that job or leave. And I just find a lot of people seem to do this. And another thing is, people might see that I do all these activities outside of my life, but these are activities that I know that I enjoy. I know that I'm connected to, and it's connected to what my heart wants. Like I sometimes go surfing, not that frequently, but every now and then I go with my brother and cousins. And then there's also, I brought rollerblades last year because I was trying to relive one of my childhood memories, which was rollerblading, down the court with my brother and sister. And yeah, just lots of little things I started incorporating doing because that's what brought my heart joy. And then I'd see certain people with my circles watching me do this and then start almost copying. And I'm just like, and the things, I have no problems with people trying things because they're curious and stuff, but then I'm like, I get the sense they're doing because they think that that will bring them joy, that will bring them peace, that will just boost their life. But the truth is, if it's not your passion, it's not going to last for very long. And you have to really, again, back to self-awareness, take time to become aware of yourself, take time to know who you really are, what you like, and start doing things for you, and being realistic as well, knowing what your skill sets are, knowing what you like and don't like, especially in the workplace. Like sometimes I just thought it was really weird when there were people trying to do roles similar to me, thinking it'd be easy, but I already, because I'm aware of people and I'm very observant, so I kind of know what people's skill sets are, and I see the light in everyone, but I also see their weaknesses, right? And I just was surprised when not some people would be like, I'm going to try this role. I'm like, oh, okay, yep, cool, try it. And I mean, in my head, it's like, oh, I know this person's not going to be able to handle it because I know they can't handle that level of stress. And then they do it, and then yeah, and then they give up, and it's really sad because yeah, and then that breaks what's it? They're sort of how do I say? What's the word when you say it's sort of, yeah? And then they feel a little bit broken after those moments, and I don't know what else to say in the sense that I don't, because at the end of the day that was their choice, but their choice was driven from just not really knowing themselves. And again, I've seen people also sort of do things because people that they idolize or follow or look up to do things. So similar to this job, the job example, there's someone else I knew who decided that they wanted to become a coach in something, something, something. Anyway, I won't get into details, but yeah, and I remember thinking to myself, it's like, are you doing this because that other person, because I knew there's another person that does the similar thing. I was like, are you doing this because that person is doing, and I know that you sort of follow that person? And a part of me was like, oh, I don't know. But this person told me that they really wanted to do this. And lo and behold, they were about to sort of, they were close to finishing this course to become this coach thing. And then I don't know what happened after that because I haven't asked them since, but basically all these things happened and they didn't end up doing it. And I also noticed that they didn't, how can I say this? This person was wanting to go into a coaching role, yet they basically indicated to me, yeah, I want to be a coach, but I only want easy clients. And to me, that's a sign that you should not be a coach or like in sort of any leadership teaching type of role. If you want easy clients, easy people to train, because the best leaders, teachers, coaches, they're willing to help the most difficult clients. That's a sign of a good leader, a good teacher, a good coach. And to hear, not basically hear, but to get that feeling that this person only wanted easy clients to get by. And just like, it just made me realize, like, I don't think this role is for you. And I think I've started to realize that you probably did this because you saw someone that you follow idolize doing it, and you thought that you could emulate that and do it because that might bring you happiness, or that, yeah, I don't know. It was just very interesting, right? And I just feel, yeah, people just really need to take the time, especially this year in 2023, or whenever you're watching this. If you're watching this right now, whoever it is out there, whatever year in time, it means you're meant to be doing the work, because God, the universe, angels, spirit wouldn't have led you to this video for no reason, right? Because everything is divinely planned, whether you believe it or not. You might think it's algorithms, but I'm gonna say it's the universe. Yeah, so I really want people to do the work so you can find out who you are. So you can create your own identity and not become this copycat person. Because we're not here to be copycats. We're here to express ourselves in our own unique way. Yes, many of us will have very similar interests, but we're still unique. We still have our own style. We still have our own way of doing things. And it's important that you're doing what's aligned to your own heart. And it's also important that you don't deny, neglect, resist parts of you, including the shadow parts, including those parts that you just don't want people to know about, because we all have shadows. We all have weaknesses. Like, I am going to be honest now and talk about my weaknesses and the things that I've had to work on. And the reason I have been able to change my life, because self-awareness is the greatest agent for change, quote by Eckhart Tolle. The reason I have been able to change my life and shift gears and do this right now is because I've done the work. I've taken the time to really understand myself and also own the fact that I've got these areas that, I'm a little bit weak in. And so I will continue to work on it. Whether I can overcome it in this life or master it, who knows? But I would never be that person like, oh, I'm superior, I'm all there. Because I have met people who think that, just by getting a few charts done, and yeah, they're like, ooh, I'm this, I'm that, and then ignore all the ugly stuff. But yeah. Yeah, so I'll talk about my weaknesses. So, so definitely in the past, I was a people pleaser, and that showed up in one of my numerology charts because I'm a life path 9. People pleasing because, abandonment issues, guilt, feeling guilty for things, an empath, highly empathic, soaking up everyone's crap because life path nines are actual natural empaths. We feel things for everyone. We feel so much compassion and we're so like, oh, I feel so sorry for them. So I should probably do this or that for them. And this is what gets us into that sort of deadly cycle of self-sacrificing. Yeah. What else? Speaking, communicating. One of my biggest challenges in this lifetime, and this has come through so many different charts, by the way, not just my numerology chart, but my astrology charts, both Vedic and tropical. My voice is one of my biggest challenge areas, but it's one of my biggest gifts, but also what I'm most challenged by. And what I mean by that is that this lifetime is about me learning to speak up, learning to use my voice, learning to communicate things. And I'll tell you what, when I was a young child, I often went mute. I often went very silent in the face of, mistreatment. I wouldn't say anything. And the thing is, my mind was saying a lot of stuff. My mind was like, oh, I can't believe you're saying this when I could actually shut you down right now with all these things that you have done to me. But instead, I would hold it in and I would actually feel my throat chakra like drying up, and I'd be like I couldn't. And yeah, it was ridiculous. But my childhood, I spent a lot of my time silent. And I want people to understand, like, as a Gemini, I do talk, I do superficial conversations, but when it came to really serious stuff, when it came to people sort of bullying me or like making me feel inadequate, and the thing is, I knew they were mistreating me, I always struggled to speak up. I would hold it back. However, just talking about, everyday random stuff was fine. But yeah, those things I would hold back. And my whole sort of journey in this lifetime is about me speaking up, me pushing back, me setting boundaries. And through taking the time to look at my charts and understand this is why I am speaking, because I used to have this fear of speaking because I feared rejection. I feared being abandoned. I feared not being accepted. I just wanted to be accepted by everyone. These are all the different things that come out in my charts that I've come to understand now. And, and I am an emotionally sensitive being. Now, but by the way, I just want to slide random information in while I'm, in flow. This is unscripted, if I haven't not mentioned. But empathy is a very different thing to emotional sensitivity. And I find there's people who sort of call themselves empaths, where I feel like they're more sort of emotionally sensitive people. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. It's just emotionally sensitive people. Yeah, it's just an emotionally sensitive person. And an empath is a little bit different. And I'll sort of explain that right now. And I'm both an empath and an emotionally sensitive person, but they are not the same thing. So first, let's look at sympathy versus empathy. Sympathy is when you pity someone, when you feel sorry for someone, whereas empathy is when you kind of have this understanding and sense of compassion for someone, and you feel someone's pain, and you know that you can sort of feel into the person's feelings. And so because of that, you sort of know not to do something because you know how it would feel, if that makes sense. Like say I'm just trying to think. Does that make sense? Like, empathy is just feeling people's emotions, feeling like it was your own. And because you're an empathic person, you tend to have this ability to foresee and know when someone's sort of feeling out of place. And because of that, you do the compassionate thing and you take care of them and you step in. That's what empathy is. Emotional sensitivity is basically, yeah, you are sensitive. Your emotional sensitivity, I think, is self-explanatory in the sense that, you sort of are sensitive to things in an emotional manner. Like, you respond emotionally. And I want people to understand that emotional sensitivity is different to empathy, and not everyone has empathy, if that makes sense. Because I feel like there's some, yeah, I think I just said before, there are people who think that they're empaths, but I would see them more as emotionally sensitive people, not empaths. And I'll give you an example. There's this person that I know, and I have this sense feeling that they perceive themselves or identify with the empath title. And for me, I don't feel that they're truly an empath. Yes, they have an emotional sensitivity. Yes, they are intuitive, but I don't see them as being an empath, because empaths, again, they have this ability to feel other people's feelings, and they have this compassion for others and feel other people's feelings. So this other person would often do things that hurt other people's feelings but not be aware of it and notice it. But an empath always knows what's right and wrong, and an empath is driven by this feeling, and that's why they don't hurt other people, because they know what it feels like to be hurt. So this other person who identifies as an empath is not really an empath, because they went around hurting people all the time and had no clue or idea or sense that they were doing this. And I just really wanted to sort of make that distinction, because, yeah, there's people out there who really attaching to these labels and things. And, like I said in one of my other videos, we've got to be careful with attaching to labels. I mean, it's good to identify with something to help you sort of understand yourself better, but don't get too attached, right? And sometimes I find people attaching to labels to sort of feel like they belong somewhere. Like, yay, I'm an empath. We're part of the empaths. Yay, I'm a starseed because we're starseeds. And that's all cool, right? Like, I resonate with being a starseed, an indigo, and all these things, but I'm not obsessed about it. Like, I've sort of let go. I was like, yep, that's nice to know. Now let's move on. I'm human. What am I here to do? Let's look at my charts and figure out what I'm here to do. Oh, I'm here to communicate the truth. Oh, I'm here to trigger people to wake up. Oh, I'm a catalyst. Oh, I'm here to do some really amazing things, which will unfold eventually. But yeah, so I really wanted people to, yeah, just take the time and really get to know themselves better, really understand what you like, and don't like things that other people like, thinking that it will make you happy. Because, yeah, make sure that when someone asks you, what do you want to do? What do you like? Don't say the things that you think other people want you to hear, or say things just, sorry, I just had an example flow into my mind, and I'm just trying to think how to. I feel that those who are very disconnected from knowing who they are have a tendency to just attach to other people's likes and dislikes and hobbies and things, right? When you haven't taken the time to be an individual, you're codependent. Yeah. You just attach to other people's things. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I I make essential oil. I make essential oil rollers. I actually do. Um yeah, and then I meet someone meets me, and then they sort of become very attached to me, and then, when I ask them, it's like, oh, you should do stuff that you like to do, and then they were like, oh, well, I like making essential oil rollers. And I'll be like, do you really? and it's and the thing is, they've never made essential oil rollers, but they're saying that because they know I do that, and they're saying that because they want to hang with me. Things like this, like, yeah, or yeah, and it just seems weird. Anyway, I feel like, as always, I feel a little bit confused because my mind is everywhere, and I am a Gemini, and I go blah 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 blah, and I have a very active mind. I do certainly resonate with being someone on the ADHD spectrum. just putting it out there, guys. Because I'm always late to things, and yeah, not because I want to be late, it's just that I get distracted. And this has always been how I am, and I know that many people, friends and family hate it. Even with my parents, like my dad would call me like, "What time are you coming?" I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I think 7:30, Dad." Then at 9 o'clock, my dad's like, "Where are you?" He's like, I'm gonna leave now, Dad." And it's like, "What have you been doing?" I'm just like, "I just got distracted." Yeah. Anyway, I am rambling on now, and I just hope this video gets people really thinking about, yeah, doing the work and just really knowing themselves. Because until you do that, how can you change yourself? How can you really figure out what it is you want in life? I am where I am today because I stayed true to me, even though everyone around me was trying to make me second guess myself, my choices. I still eventually like, no, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna be stubborn, and yeah, I stuck to my gut instincts, and here I am making a YouTube video with no followers. Okay, I lied. I got 4 followers, but one of those is my own personal account. So I have 3 followers, and I know who one other is. It's one of my friends, but I have no idea who the other 2 are. But to the other 2, hi. Don't mind me. I am a weird, quirky individual. This is who I am. I don't know why people like me, but they do. Actually, I lied because I have done my self awareness work and I am a luminary. And what I mean by that is I am both the sun and the moon, and these are called the luminaries in astrology. I'll explain more another time. Love you guys. Love my 4 followers, which is me, Claudia, and I don't know who you extra 2 are, but thank you so much for being my subscribers. Bye.